You know, folks, this next story really isn't news. In any other world, it wouldn't be news, but I want to focus on it to make a much broader point. So recently, Donald Trump slipped while walking up a set of stairs. Now, I know what you're thinking, Brando. He is manufacturing crisis out in Los Angeles. He's creating all this chaos. He's flooding the zone. He's shredding the Constitution. Why do you want to talk about this? Well, I want to talk about this slip to show just how far we've fallen in American politics. Let's take a look at this clip right here that Brian Tyler Cohen put together. This is Donald Trump criticizing Joe Biden for not being able to walk up a flight of stairs while Donald Trump himself is having difficulty doing the same thing. Take a look.
Joe Biden can't even walk up a flight of stairs on Air Force One, and he can't put two sentences together. The last thing that this incompetent administration should be doing is risking war with a nuclear-armed Russia or China or other countries. We have somebody that doesn't have a clue representing us.
Be on your side, but he did touch on that which we were wondering if he would speak about, and that's regarding the...
You see, when Joe Biden was president, every word that he said was held under a microscope. I have never seen a president who people just sat back and watched so closely to hear every word that he said, or every word that he hesitated to say, or every time he stuttered, or every time he slipped. They made it a segment on Fox News for a week, and they were constantly saying, Joe Biden can't complete a sentence, Joe Biden can't walk up a set of stairs, Joe Biden slips and falls down, and they drill that into their listeners' head because they realize that their viewers actually care more about the culture wars than they do the actual issues at hand. MAGA doesn't care about the issues at hand. They care about a soundbite, they care about a clip that they can set and zero in on and flex and own the libs. You know, Joe Biden was an effective president, accomplished more in 4 years than most can in 8. He did a really good job, and I think history, if we still have history books when this whole thing is over, I think history will record him fairly. But they absolutely criticized every word that came out of his mouth or didn't come out of his mouth, or, you know, it was so ridiculous to sit back and watch day in and day out them go after that. But they realized that their base likes the culture wars and not the issues at hand. We were over here talking about a living wage. We were over here talking about universal health care. We were over here talking about the LGBTQ community being treated fairly and being able to live the lives that they were born to live. We were talking about, you know, things like words like DEI and woke not being bad words. You know, we were talking about issues, we were talking about the environment, we were talking about all sorts of things that actually affects our day-to-day lives, while they stayed laser focused on those things. Because they realized that if you stay laser focused on those things, you can absolutely manipulate and dictate which way you want the narrative to go, and you can absolutely manipulate your audience into believing anything you say. And then, while you hold Joe Biden under such a tight microscope and pick apart every word he says, no matter what Donald Trump does right out in the open, you can always duck and dodge and deny it. Like Tim Burchett here in Tennessee does in this next clip when he's asked about Elon saying that Trump was in the Epstein files. This is one of the most lame responses that I've heard MAGA give, but I would not expect anything less from Tim Burchett. Take a look.
Video of them running around the Oval Office. You've seen they're running out to the helicopter and they're hanging out, and that's just bogus. And also, if it was any of that was true, Biden would have released it. It was their federal authorities that seized all those records in the first place.
You know, I really don't think that they think that defense through when they say it. You know, if he thought he was a pedophile, then why did he let his son hang around him? They don't realize how that really sounds. And Mike Johnson doesn't realize how ridiculous he looks when he tries to just laugh it off and be like Kash Patel and say, I'm not getting in the middle of that one. That's not my lane. Take a look.
By the way, do you know what he's talking about with the Epstein files? I mean, what is, and why haven't those files been released? Have you, I mean, some of your members have said they got to be released.
As Kash said in the vignette earlier, he's FBI. That's not my lane. I don't know. I can tell you that I don't think we have no concern about President Trump or his involvement or any of that. I think it's nonsense.
And in terms of this threat...
You know, the nervous laugh is really not helping him right there, and he doesn't even realize how that he looks. If this was said about Joe Biden, I'm pretty sure Democrats will be coming out really strongly saying, hey, no, there is no chance in hell that Joe Biden is on that list. That's defamation of character, and we're going to be coming after that. But they just laugh nervously and then say, oh, that's not my lane. I don't want to get in the middle of that. When you know why they're really saying that? Because they can't say with 100% certainty that Donald Trump didn't do something wrong, number one. And number two, they realize that Elon Musk was their biggest donor, and they're scared to death that he's going to primary people against against Republicans. So they're just sitting there now trying to figure out how to weasel their way out of this one and duck and dodge any and all accountability. And that is the main point of why I wanted to talk about this. Donald Trump slipping going up the stairs, Joe Biden slipping going up the stairs. Neither one of those, in my opinion, is newsworthy stories. We should keep moving. But in today's society, they become newsworthy stories, and people puts them out there into the world, and people focuses on that. And there are people who literally went out and voted because of Joe Biden's speech, or because Joe Biden slipped, because they sat and bought into that day in and day out. People will stay laser focused on that type of thing instead of focusing on the issues at hand. And the main reason why that MAGA does not want to focus on the issues at hand, or the powers that be in MAGA, I should say, the reason why the Mike Johnsons of the world and the Fox Newses of the world don't want to focus on the issues at hand is because Republican politicians are doing absolutely nothing to make anyone's life out there better. The only thing they can do is manufacture a crisis. The only thing they can do is create a bunch of fake outrage for people to get mad and get behind. And that's why the entire time that everyone was fighting the culture wars, I was sitting in this chair day in and day out, calling it out and saying, these culture wars does not affect how you live in this world. Kid Rock getting mad over a transgender person being on a beer can and blowing up his Bud Light does not affect anyone, okay? You going out here and burning your Carhartt does not prove the point you think it does. You didn't shop at Starbucks and Target to begin with. Why are you bitching about it? Why can't you just walk past the Pride display the same way I drive by 10 churches on the way 5 minutes down the road? You know, it's one of those things where we sit here and we try to point out they don't give a shit about you. They're distracting you with bullshit. And they distracted people with the bullshit that Joe Biden couldn't speak, Joe Biden couldn't complete a sentence, Joe Biden tripped and fell down. Meanwhile, Donald Trump can do the exact same thing, and they will go crickets on it. They'll never bring it up. They'll never point out all the verbal diarrhea that comes out of that dude's mouth on a daily basis. They'll never point out all the lies that comes out of his mouth. And they will use any moment like this to gloss over what Elon said and to gloss over any and all accountability of this big, beautiful bill. They don't want to talk about those things because they realize the minute they do, they don't have an argument. So that's why they're always going to go to those type of culture wars. And no, I don't think neither one of those stories was newsworthy, but I just wanted to make the point that they do these things on purpose, and they manufacture this fake outrage on purpose because they realize that their base is the most easily manipulated and easily controlled people. If you make MAGA think they're fighting for something, or they're fighting against someone, or they're owning the libs, then they will absolutely go out there and eat it up. But they have never owned the libs. The only thing they showed us is that Donald Trump owns them.